The girl stood in the courtroom, clutching a plush toy rabbit in her hands. The judge smiled at her reassuringly. "Tell us the truth," he said gently. She nodded. In the front row sat a man in a great coat. He smiled, barely noticeable, but enough. The girl knew that if she said the wrong words, one of the children from the shelter would not come back tonight. "He did not do anything," she said in a clear, childish voice. At that moment, the prosecutor understood. The case was already lost. This will help support the growth of our channel. The courtroom smelled like old paper and disinfectant. Too clean. Too quiet. When it was over, they did not put handcuffs on the man in the gray coat. They never did. He stood up calmly, buttoned his coat, and walked past the girl without looking at her. Only when he reached the door did he stop. Just for a second. She felt it before she saw it. His eyes met hers. A soft smile. Almost proud. Then he was gone. Her name was Elena. She was 11 years old, and she had learned very early that silence could be louder than screaming. The social worker took her hand afterward. The woman's grip was warm, careful, the way adults touch children when they thought they were fragile glass. "You did great," she whispered. "You were very brave." Elena nodded. She always nodded. Nodding was safe. No one noticed the small red mark on her wrist where she had pressed her nails into her skin during her testimony. No one noticed the way she counted her steps down the courthouse stairs. 1, 2, 3, 4. If she stopped counting, she might start crying. And crying was dangerous. The shelter was called St. Mercy Children's Home. The name was painted in soft blue letters above the door, with cartoon clouds drifting around it. Inside, the walls were pastel yellow. The floors were clean. The food was warm. The beds had matching blankets. It did not look like a place where bad things happened. That was the trick. Elena arrived there when she was 9, carrying a plastic bag with 2 t-shirts and 1 sock without a pair. The first thing she noticed was the smell, vanilla and soap. The second thing was the man who knelt in front of her instead of looking down. "Welcome home," he said gently. His name was Mr. Hale. He always knelt when he spoke to children. Mr. Hale never raised his voice. Not once. He spoke slowly, carefully, like every word mattered. Like children mattered. "You are safe here," he told them on the first night. "No one will ever hurt you again." Some of the kids cried when he said that. Elena did not. She watched. Life at St. Mercy ran on routines. Wake up at 7. Breakfast at 7:30. School at 8:30. Homework after dinner. Lights out at 9. Order felt like kindness when you came from chaos. Mr. Hale walked through the shelter every evening, checking rooms, asking about school, remembering names. He praised good grades. He noticed scraped knees. He brought coloring books and puzzles and sometimes, on special days, ice cream. He called them his angels. "You kids see things adults do not," he would say with a smile. "That's a gift." Elena noticed that he said this most often when adults were not around. The first favor came a month after she arrived. It was not scary. It was small. "Elena," Mr. Hale said one afternoon, standing by the door as she packed her backpack. "Could you help me with something?" She froze for half a second. Old instincts whispered no. But this place was not like before. This was safe. This was clean. "Yes," she said. He handed her a sealed envelope. "Just give this to the woman at the front desk downstairs," he said. "You re so responsible. I trust you." Trust felt good. Heavy. Important. Elena delivered the envelope. The woman took it without a word. "That night, Mr. Hale left a chocolate bar on Elena's pillow. "Thank you for being such a good helper," he said. She did not eat the chocolate. She hid it in her drawer. After that, favors became normal. Small packages, short messages, waiting with backpacks in places where adults talked quietly and told her not to listen. Children do not understand adult business. "Mr. Hale would say, smiling. "That's why you read perfect." Elena learned what that meant very quickly. Perfect meant invisible. Some kids loved the favors. Tommy liked the attention. He was 10 and loud and desperate to be chosen. Mara liked the rewards: new shoes, extra dessert, praise that felt like sunlight. Elena watched what happened to kids who asked questions. They did not get punished. They got ignored. And being ignored was worse. One night, a boy named Lucas did not come back. He was 12. Quiet. Always reading. At breakfast, his chair was empty. "Lucas found a family, Mr. Hale said calmly when someone asked. "We were very happy for him." The adults nodded. The kids did not. Elena noticed that Mr. Hale did not say adopted. He said found, like Lucas had been lost. That night, Elena dreamed of a backpack left alone on the sidewalk. Things changed after Lucas disappeared. The favors became more specific. "Stand here. Remember this license plate. Say you did not see anything." Elena began to understand that the world outside the shelter ran on rules that had nothing to do with right or wrong. Only usefulness. The night before the court hearing, Mr. Hale sat beside her on the bench in the hallway. "You read doing something very important tomorrow," he said softly. "Grown-ups make mistakes. But children tell the truth." Elena stared at the floor. "What if the truth hurts someone?" she asked. Mr. Hale smiled, warm and patient. "Then it is not the truth," he said. "It's just noise." He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "And noise gets children hurt." That was when Elena knew. Not everything. Not yet. But enough. She went to bed that night counting all the children she could remember. 1, 2, 3. And wondering which number would disappear next. Elena learned how to walk without making noise. It started as a game. The shelter floors were old wood, polished so often they reflected the ceiling lights. At night, every step creaked unless you knew where to place your feet. Elena practiced barefoot, memorizing the quiet spots between the boards. Silence was a skill, and skills were valuable. The first adult who almost noticed was Mrs. Carter, the school counselor. She smelled like peppermint and paper. Her office walls were covered with drawings made by children who no longer lived at St. Mercy. Bright suns, stick figure families, smiling houses, too many smiles. "Elena," Mrs. Carter said gently one afternoon, "do you feel safe at the shelter?" Elena stared at the picture frame behind her. A photo of Mrs. Carter with a golden retriever. The dog looked happy. Protected? "Yes," Elena said. The counselor hesitated. "You can tell me anything." Elena thought of Lucas, of the gray coat, of the way Mr. Hale smiled when no one was watching. "I know," she said. That was the problem. After that conversation, Mr. Hale stopped assigning Elena simple favors. Now she was trusted. "You read very observant," he told her one evening as they walked down the street together. "You notice details most people miss." They stood near a cafe, the windows fogged from heat and voices inside. "Do you see that man?" Mr. Hale asked casually. Elena nodded. "What color is his car?" "Black." "License plate?" She recited it from memory. Mr. Hale smiled. "Perfect." She did not feel proud. She felt cold. The children were never together when they helped. Always alone. Always separate. That way, no one could compare stories. Except children always did. Whispering happened at night, under blankets, in the language of fear and half-truths. Mara once whispered, "Do you think we read bad?" Tommy laughed nervously. "No. We read helping." Elena said nothing. She had learned something important. People who asked why did not last long. One afternoon, the police came to the shelter. 2 officers. Friendly faces. Calm voices. "Mr." Hale welcomed them like old friends. "Routine questions," he said cheerfully to the kids. "Nothing to worry about." Elena sat very still while one of the officers knelt in front of her. "Have you ever seen Mr. Hale do anything strange?" he asked. Elena remembered his hand on her shoulder. The envelopes. The disappearances. She shook her head. The officer sighed with relief. "Good kid, Mr. Hale watched from across the room. That night, Elena found a new backpack on her bed. The backpack was heavier than it should have been. "Just carry it, Mr. Hale said the next morning. "Do not open it." Elena did not ask what was inside. She did not need to. When she handed it to a man behind a grocery store, his hands were shaking. When he took it, he whispered, "Jesus Christ." Elena walked away slowly, like she'd been taught. Children did not leave fingerprints. Mrs. Carter tried again a week later. "Elena," she said quietly, closing the office door, "children do not usually testify in cases like that." Elena felt her chest tighten. "I wanted to help," she said automatically. Mrs. Carter studied her face. "Who told you to say that?" Silence stretched between them. Elena thought of the shelter. Of the beds lined up like soldiers. Of empty chairs. "No one," she said. Mrs. Carter leaned back, troubled. That was the moment Elena realized something terrifying. Adults only saw what they were ready to see. The night Tommy disappeared, no announcement was made. His bed was simply empty. No found family. No explanation. Mara cried into her pillow. Other kids pretended not to notice. Elena counted again. 1, 2, 3. The numbers were shrinking. Mr. Hale called Elena into his office the next day. "You are growing up," he said fondly. "That is dangerous." Elena did not respond. "People start asking questions," he continued. "But you are smarter than that, are not you?" She nodded. "I need you for something important," he said. "Something only you can do." He slid a paper across the desk. A name. An address. And a date. Court again. That night, Elena did not sleep. She imagined herself growing taller, older, heavier, too big to disappear easily. She imagined Mr. Hale finding new children. Younger ones. Softer ones. She realized then that survival was not enough. If she stayed quiet forever, the shelter would never empty. It would only refill. Elena began to plan. Not like an adult would. Like a child. Slow. Careful. With patience sharpened by fear. She started memorizing everything. Times. Faces. Routes. She hid notes inside library books no one checked out. She learned where the cameras did not reach. And she waited. Because children knew something adults forgot, monsters were lazy. They trusted silence. Elena chose her first lie carefully. It had to be small. Small lies survived longer. The opportunity came on a rainy Thursday, the kind of day when the shelter smelled like wet coats and old heaters. Mr. Hale stood near the entrance, speaking quietly on his phone, his back turned. "Elena," he said without looking at her, covering the receiver. Wait here. She nodded and stayed exactly where she was supposed to. Or almost. When he stepped outside, Elena moved 3 steps to the left, just enough to see the reflection in the glass door. 2 men across the street. 1 car idling. The same pattern she had seen before. She memorized everything. Then she did something new. She forgot one detail on purpose. That evening when Mr. Hale asked, "What color was the second car?" Elena paused. "Blue," she said. "It was gray." Mr. Hale looked at her for a long moment. His smile did not fade, but something behind it tightened. "Are you sure?" he asked gently. Elena met his eyes. She let her lower lip tremble, just a little. "I think so," she said. "I get confused sometimes." Silence. Then Mr. Hale laughed softly. "That is all right. You were still a child." That night, Elena did not get a chocolate bar. But she slept anyway. The next day, Mrs. Carter stopped Elena in the hallway at school. "You've been very quiet lately," she said. Elena shrugged. "Quiet is good." Mrs. Carter hesitated, then said something she'd never said before. "If something bad was happening," she asked carefully, "would you want it to stop?" Elena looked at her. Adults asked questions like this when they were afraid of the answers. "Yes," Elena said. Mrs. Carter swallowed. "Even if stopping it hurt people?" Elena thought of the shelter, of Mara, of empty beds. "Yes," she said again. This time, it was not automatic. Mrs. Carter nodded slowly, like someone stepping onto thin ice. The second lie was bigger. Mr. Hale sent Elena with a package, as usual. Same route. Same alley. Same man with shaking hands. This time, Elena noticed something new. A security camera above the loading door, its red light blinking. When the man reached for the backpack, Elena dropped it. "I am sorry," she said quickly. "I am clumsy." The man cursed under his breath and bent down to pick it up. For half a second, the camera had a clear view of his face. That night, Elena counted her heartbeats until morning. 2 days later, police cars drove past the shelter without stopping. Mr. Hale was calm. Too calm. "People are nervous," he said at dinner. "They imagine dangers where there are none." Elena ate slowly. She imagined the footage, the face, the mistake. For the first time, fear felt like something sharp she could hold. Tommy's name appeared on a missing persons flyer. Not found family. Missing. Elena saw it taped to a telephone pole near the school. His smile was crooked in the picture, like he was about to say something stupid and brave. She stared at it until the paper blurred. That night, she cried for the first time since arriving at St. Mercy. She cried silently, counting tears instead of steps. Mr. Hale noticed. He always did. "You rechanging," he said softly the next evening, sitting beside her on the bench. "That worries me." Elena kept her eyes forward. "I am just tired." He studied her face like a puzzle. "You know," he said, "children who grow up too fast often regret it." Elena nodded. She thought, children who do not grow up disappear. The third lie was the most dangerous. Mrs. Carter asked Elena to stay after school. "I see it not help you," she said quietly, hands folded tight. "Not directly." Elena felt the familiar drop in her stomach. "But I can listen," Mrs. Carter continued. "And sometimes, listening is enough to start something." Elena took a breath. She told her a story. Not the whole truth. Not yet. Just enough. "There's a man," Elena said, staring at the floor. "He likes children, who do not talk too much. Mrs. Carter did not interrupt. He says he is helping. Elena continued. And maybe he believes that. Mrs. Carter's voice was barely a whisper. Is he hurting you? Elena shook her head. Not a lie. Not the truth. He hurts people. Elena said instead. By making us invisible. Mrs. Carter closed her eyes. That was the moment Elena understood something else. Adults broke differently than children did. That night, Mr. Hale stood in the doorway of Elena's room longer than usual. Tomorrow is important, he said. I need you to remember what matters. Elena looked at him. What matters? She asked. He smiled. Staying safe. After you left, Elena reached into her drawer and pulled out the hidden chocolate bars. She unwrapped one. It tasted bitter. Elena lay awake, listening to the shelter breathe, pipes humming, doors creaking, children dreaming. She was not trying to win. She was trying to make noise. Enough noise that someone somewhere would be forced to listen. The first consequence arrived quietly. No sirens. No shouting. Just a meeting. All the children were called into the common room after dinner. They sat on the floor, cross-legged, back straight, like they'd been trained. Mr. Hale stood in front of them, hands clasped, smiling. But Elena saw it. A thin line of sweat at his hairline. Sometimes, he said calmly, grown-ups make mistakes about good people. He paced slowly, letting his shoes tap against the floor. And sometimes, he continued, those mistakes come from lies. Elena did not move. She felt Mara's shoulder tense beside her. If anyone has been confused, Mr. Hale said gently, or said something untrue without meaning to, this is the time to fix it. His eyes moved across the room. They stopped on Elena. Just for a second. That night, the shelter felt different. Doors closed more softly. Whispers died faster. Even the pipes seemed quieter. Elena counted the steps from her bed to the window. She counted the seconds between patrols. Mr. Hale did not trust her anymore. Not fully. That meant she had time. Mrs. Carter did not show up to school the next day. A substitute took her place, reading from a clipboard without looking at the children. Elena's stomach twisted. Adults disappeared too. Just differently. On the third day, a man Elena had never seen before waited near the school gates. Tall. Plain clothes. Pretending to check his phone. He looked up when Elena passed. Did not smile. Did not speak. Just nodded once. That nod felt heavier than any reward Mr. Hale had ever given her. That evening Mr. Hale did not do his rounds. Instead, two unfamiliar adults walked through the shelter, pretending to inspect smoke detectors and fire exits. Just safety checks, one of them said cheerfully. Elena noticed how they avoided the children's eyes. She noticed how Mr. Hale stayed close to them. Too close. Later, Elena was called into his office. He did not offer her a chair. You've been talking, he said softly. Elena stared at the bookshelf behind him. Law books. Children's books. Side by side. I talk to teachers, she said. Not a lie. About me? He asked. She shrugged. About school. Mr. Hale stepped closer. His voice stayed calm, but something underneath it sharpened. People like us, he said, survive by understanding one thing. Elena felt her heart hammer. Children are believed, he continued, until they are not. He leaned down so they were eye level. Once doubt appears, he whispered, it never leaves. He straightened and smiled again. You do not want that, he said kindly. Do you? Elena shook her head. That was the last time he touched her shoulder. That night, Mara climbed into Elena's bed. They re-sang your name, Mara whispered. Elena closed her eyes. I know. The next morning, 2 children were gone. Not assigned families. Not missing flyers. Just gone. Their beds stripped. Their names erased from the schedule. Mr. Hale watched Elena closely during breakfast. She forced herself to eat. Fear was loud. She could not afford to be. After school, the tall man waited again. This time he spoke. What is your name? He asked quietly. Elena hesitated. Elena. He nodded. I am Daniel. Not officer. Not detective. Just Daniel. Do you know why I am here? He asked. Elena looked at the street, at the people walking by unaware. Because children do not leave footprints, she said. Daniel's jaw tightened. That used to be true, he said. We were trying to change it. That night, sirens passed the shelter. They did not stop. Mr. Hale stood at the window long after lights out. Elena watched his shadows stretch across the wall. For the first time since she'd met him, he looked small. Monsters hated light. Even the soft kind. Elena lay awake listening. She was not invisible anymore. And that was the most dangerous thing a child could be. The raid did not happen at night. That surprised everyone. Police came in the afternoon, when the shelter was loud with homework questions and clattering dishes. When children were visible. When neighbors could see. 3 cars. No sirens. Mr. Hale met them at the door with a smile already prepared. Is there a problem? He asked warmly. Daniel stepped forward. We need to speak with you, he said. Elena watched from the hallway, her back against the wall. She counted breaths instead of steps. In. Out. They did not arrest Mr. Hale. Not yet. They asked questions. They took notes. They looked around. One officer knelt to speak to the children. Has anyone ever made you feel uncomfortable here? He asked gently. Elena saw fear flash across Mara's face. She raised her hand. Yes, Elena said. Every adult in the room froze. Mr. Hale's smile cracked. Just slightly. The officer turned to her. Can you tell me who? Elena felt the weight of the moment press into her chest. This was not court. This was not rehearsed. This was now. She swallowed. Sometimes, she said carefully, I feel uncomfortable when adults pretend not to see us. Silence. The officer frowned. What do you mean? Elena looked around the room. At the children. At the staff. At Mr. Hale. I mean, she said, it's easy to hurt someone if you say you're helping. Daniel watched her closely. Mr. Hale laughed. Children, he said indulgently. They speak in riddles. Daniel did not smile. That evening, Mr. Hale packed a bag. Elena saw it from the stairs. Just one bag. The kind you packed when you thought you'd be back. Mrs. Carter returned the next day. Her face was pale. Her hand shook when she poured coffee in the teacher's lounge. She pulled Elena aside. I tried, she whispered. I really tried. Elena nodded. Trying was all adults ever promised. They re-sang their no direct evidence. Mrs. Carter continued. That children are unreliable. Elena felt something settle inside her. Cold. Solid. What happens now? She asked. Mrs. Carter hesitated. They'll move some of you, she said. Temporarily. Elena understood. Scatter the noise. Quiet the pattern. That night, Mr. Hale visited Elena's room. He did not smile. "You disappointed me," he said softly. Elena sat up, heart pounding. "I believed in you," he continued. "I protected you." Elena met his eyes. "You used me," she said. For the first time, his voice hardened. "I saved you." "No," Elena said. "You hid behind me." Something ugly flickered across his face. Then it vanished. "You were very smart," he said. "But smart children grow into broken adults." He leaned closer. "You still have time to fix this." Elena shook her head. "I already did," she said. The next morning, Mr. Hale was gone. No goodbye. No announcement. Just an empty office. And a locked drawer no one noticed. Except Elena. Daniel came back that afternoon. "We found something," he said quietly. Elena followed him to the office. The drawer lay open. Inside, names, dates, routes, children's handwriting mixed with adult notes. Proof. Daniel exhaled slowly. "He thought no one would look here," he said. Elena shook her head. "He thought children would not be believed." They arrested Mr. Hale 3 days later. Not for everything. Not yet. But enough. The shelter closed. Some children were placed with families. Some disappeared into systems with new names. Some stayed together. Elena testified again. This time, her hands were empty. No toy. No script. Just her voice. Years later, Elena would remember one thing clearly. The moment Daniel thanked her. Not for being brave. Not for helping. But for telling the truth when it was dangerous. Because the most powerful lie Mr. Hale ever told was this, that children were too small to matter. The courtroom was smaller this time. No cameras. No reporters. No plush toys in children's hands. Elena sat alone at the witness table, feet not quite touching the floor. She was still 11, but something in her posture had changed. She did not look around anymore. She looked forward. Mr. Hale sat behind the defense table. He looked older, thinner, less polished, but he was still smiling. "Do you recognize the defendant?" the prosecutor asked. "Yes," Elena said. "Can you tell the court who he is?" Elena inhaled slowly. "He ran the shelter," she said. "And he taught us how to disappear." Mr. Hale's lawyer stood immediately. "Objection sustained," the judge said. "Rephrase." Elena nodded. She had learned how adults needed things shaped. "He told us what to carry," she said. "Where to stand. What to say. And why did you do it?" the prosecutor asked. Elena looked at Mr. Hale. Because he smiled. Because he promised safety. Because fear wore a friendly face. "Because I was 11, she said. Silence filled the room. Even Mr. Hale stopped smiling. The verdict was not perfect. It never was. Mr. Hale was convicted on several charges: child endangerment, obstruction, conspiracy. Not trafficking. Not everything. Some names in the ledger led nowhere. Some adults were unable to recall. Some files were sealed. Elena learned that justice was not a clean line. It was a crack. And sometimes, cracks were enough to let light in. St. Mercy Children's Home was demolished 6 months later. A parking lot replaced it. Elena stood across the street with Mara and watched the walls come down. "Do you think anyone will remember?" Mara asked. Elena thought of the drawings. The empty beds. The names erased from schedules. "Yes," she said. "We will." Elena was placed with a foster family. They were kind. Careful. They asked permission before hugging her. That made it easier. At night, Elena still counted. Not steps. Not children. Breaths. Daniel visited once, then twice. He never asked her to be a symbol. He talked about weather. About coffee. About how the world was bigger than one shelter. "You did not save everyone," he said once gently. Elena nodded. "I know. But you changed the pattern," he continued. "That matters." Elena believed him. Most days. Years later, Elena would learn that some of the children testified as adults. Some never spoke again. Some became social workers. Some became ghosts inside their own lives. There was no single ending. Only echoes. On her 15th birthday, Elena found an old library book in a box. Inside, folded and yellowed, were her notes. Times. Routes. Names. She read them once. Then she burned them in the sink, watching the paper curl into ash. She did not need proof anymore. She had memory. The last time Elena thought about Mr. Hale, she realized something strange. He had not been the devil. He had been worse. He had been ordinary. And ordinary evil depended on silence. Elena grew up. Not fast. Not cleanly. But honestly. She learned that children do leave footprints. They just do not look like adults expect.